الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا أما بعد Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to continue with the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi rahimahullah. And actually I took the advice of our friend, our good brother Hadeeth. I didn't bring the papers this time. So you will have to look it up on your phones, inshallah, to be mindful of the paper, inshallah. Alright, so for those who have phones, I want you to look up the hadith of Imam Nawawi, the 22nd hadith. Hadith number 22. Hadith number 22. You have it, Sheikh? You don't have it?
No.
Wait. So for those, alhamdulillah, Allah of us has smartphones. Allah has blessed us with smartphones. So we're going to use it, inshallah ta'ala. So the 22nd hadith of Imam Nawawi bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. Alright, in this hadith, actually, it's a beautiful hadith like the rest of them. However, this hadith, it stands out. We're going to go over why does it stand out. The hadith is, who has it? Can they read it? Inshallah ta'ala. And for those online, I'm going to post it.
It says, a man questioned the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, and said, do you think that if I perform the obligatory prayers, fast in Ramadan, treat as lawful that which is halal, and treat as forbidden that which is haram, and do not increase upon that in voluntary good deeds, then I shall enter paradise? He, peace be upon him, replied, yes.
So, before we actually go into the good part, or right, not the good part, but rather we go into in depth of the hadith, right? There's a few things that's missing from the hadith. Okay? What are the 5 pillars of Islam?
Salah, fasting, zakat,
Alright.
hajj.
To believe in Allah, the shahada. He said fasting, zakat,
Salah.
salah, and hajj. So now that we got those 5, what's missing from this hadith?
All 5.
The man said, أَرَأَيْتَ إِذَا صَلَيْتُ مَكْتُوبَاتِ If I pray the 5 prayers,
2.
وَصُمْتُ Ramadan, and I fast Ramadan, وَأَحْلَلْتُ halal, and I treat all the halal things as halal, وَحَرَمْتُ haram, and I treat all the haram things as haram, أَأَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ قَالَ نَعَمْ Will I enter paradise? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, yes, for sure. So out of those 5 pillars, which pillar is missing? Yeah, Muslimin. Alright, so let's do it again. The 5 pillars are missing.
I don't think anything is missing.
Nothing is missing.
No, because he said, do what is halal.
No, the reading of Allah.
Okay, that's included, right? The believe in Allah, the shahada is included. Okay, tayyib, he has that. Then he says, Salaytu maktubat, right? Salah. Then he says what?
Fast in Ramadan.
Sumtu Ramadan, and I fast for Ramadan. Alright, so what's the other 2 that's missing, Ikhwan? Zakat and Hajj. Alhamdulillah. Alright, Zakat and Hajj. So now my question is, are these things obligatory, yes or no?
Yes.
If you can afford it, or if you are able to.
You have the means.
If you have the means. So therefore, the scholars of Islam, they give 2 reasons why these things are missing. Right? We didn't even get to the actual sharh, the explanation of the hadith as of yet. But it's important why we mention this. There's 2 things mentioned, zakat and hajj. Either these things were not made an obligation as of yet, when the question was asked. That hajj was made an obligation in the 9th year. So perhaps it wasn't made an obligation as of yet. Okay? The second option, or rather the second explanation to this, is why the man didn't ask, because the Prophet ﷺ knew that this man was from people who cannot afford to make hajj, and he's from those who cannot even what? Pay zakat. So there was no reason for the man to ask the question, to add those to the question. You understand that? Alright. If it's the second explanation, and this is where it gets real important, if it's the second explanation, it shows the importance of knowing the situations of the people and knowing who you're talking to and how to address that individual. Imagine if the man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, O Messenger of Allah, if I pray the 5 prayers and I fast for Ramadan and I do this and I do that, will I enter Jannah? He said, no. Until you do Hajj and Zakat. How would the man feel? Knowing that I can't even afford to do that aslan to begin with, right? So therefore, we have to know what the situations of the people and how we talk to people. All right? And it's real important that we highlight that. And the reason why we're going to highlight this is because we're going to teach you a principle, right? And this principle is actually real important. You'll find that in a lot of ahadith, you'll see that it says a man came and did such and such, right? I'll give you an example. Outside of this hadith, it says جاء أعرابي فبال في طائفة المسجد, that a Bedouin came and he urinated in the masjid, right? You may have another hadith. A man came and he slapped a slave girl. And a man came and he did this and he did this. The reason why these things are important is because if you notice, when ahadith are mentioned, if there's like a defect or it exposes the individual, they never mention what? A name. So therefore, the principle we want to take from this, ikhwan, is that when we're learning something, right? Especially, let's say if you come to the Imam and you want to ask the Imam a question, there's no need for you to mention a name if that person has no effect on the ruling that you're going to get. So for an example, if I said, a brother came, oh Imam, I saw a brother do such and such and such and such, which is the ruling? There's no benefit in me saying, I saw Abdul Wahab came and he did this, that, and the third. You understand that? So therefore, as well, like Salamullah, if you're going to mention certain things about certain people, there's no benefit in mentioning a name if it has no effect on the ruling, ikhwan. Alright? And we need to understand this is real important. Inshallah ta'ala, when we go over the rest of the hadith, it's going to make sense, inshallah. Alright? So now the man, he says here, إِذَا صَلَيْتُ مَقْتُوبَاتِ, if I pray what? The 5 prayers. The obligatory prayers. وَصُمْتُ رَمَضَانِ, and I fast for Ramadan. وَأَحْلَمْتُ حَلَالٌ وَحَرَمْتُ حَرَامٌ. The scholars of Islam, they mention here that in the beginning of the hadith, when the man says, if I pray the 5 prayers, it includes everything. All the conditions of the prayer. Alright? Not, for lack of better words, not praying like a chicken. Alright? Tuma'nina. Being tranquil in the salah. A man came inside of the masjid, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he started to pray. But he was rushing through the prayer, going up and down, going up and down. And then after the prayer was over, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Irja' fasali fa innaka lam tusalli." Go back and pray for very what? You didn't pray. Later on, the man said, "O Messenger of Allah, this is all I know." But the point here, Juan, is that the man thought that he prayed, but he didn't really pray. It comes in the Hadith Qudsi, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that not everyone who prays is really praying. It comes in the Hadith Qudsi. So therefore here, when a man said, "O Messenger of Allah, if I pray the obligatory prayers, it means I give the obligatory prayers their due right. I don't rush through the prayers." Because what happens here, you have a lot of people, they read these type of ahadith, and they just feel that, khalas, I just pray the prayer, and I just fast for Ramadan, and I just do what this man said, khalas, I'm straight. I'm going to have Jannah. But there's a lot more to that, ikhwan. We have to add that, alright? So when we talk about the prayers, it's all of the conditions of the prayer. You make a good wudu. You don't rush through the salah. You perfect your tilawah, your recitation of the Quran, and so on and so forth. You give the salah its due right. Wasumtu Ramadan, and you give fasting is also its due right. So if you have some days from Ramadan that you need to make up, you have to do what? You have to make them up. Even before you fast, what are the 6 days after Ramadan that everyone wants to fast? Shawwal. The scholars of Islam, they mention that your Shawwal will not count until you finish fasting Ramadan. So therefore, when a man says, "Wasumtu Ramadan," meaning that I have given Ramadan its full right. And a lot of people don't do that. But they give Ramadan its full right. They complete all 30 days or 29 days of Ramadan. Now here's the interesting part of the hadith. Where the man says, وَأَحْلَلْتُ حَلَالٌ وَحَرَمْتُ حَرَامٌ. أَحْلَلْتُ حَلَالٌ وَحَرَمْتُ حَرَامٌ. That I make everything that Allah has made halal, I treat it as halal. And I make everything Allah has made haram, I treat it as if it's a haram. You have a lot of people, so what they tend to do is, they rely on their desires. And their desires are so strong, they try to change the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fit their what? To fit their desires. So if you ask them, they may have some knowledge as well. So if you ask them about the ruling of the deen, because they want to make the religion fit their desires, they say this is halal, knowing that it's haram. And they say this is haram, knowing that it's what? Halal. And if you don't believe me, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses this in the Quran. So I want everyone to go to Surah Al-Nahl 116. So it's 16, 116. Whoever has it, I want you to read it, inshallah.
And for what your tongues describe, do not utter the lie, saying this is lawful and this is unlawful.
Alright, stop. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He informs people here, do not follow the desires in their tongue, saying that this is lawful and this is unlawful. Alright,
In order to forge, not prosper.
it's not prosper. Those who force Allah against Allah, making certain things in the deen halal, knowing that it's haram, and vice versa. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed it. There's some people who do this. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something else in the next verse, 117. What does He say?
A little enjoyment, and they shall have a painful punishment.
Muta'un qaleen. They rejoice a little bit from that which they have done, trying to change the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fit their evil desires. Knowing that something is a riba, knowing that something is an interest, but no, akhi, my shaykh said this, so on and so forth. I studied this, that, and the third. Trying to change the religion of Allah to fit their desires. So Allah says, Mata'un qaleen. They have a small enjoyment. But what? They have a what?
Unsuccessful.
No, after that Allah says what? They have a small enjoyment? A painful punishment. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. You will never be prosperous. You will never prosper. When people try to change the religion of Allah. So this man, when he said, وَأَحْلَنْتُ halal, that I don't make excuses, that I treat everything as if it's supposed to be halal, as Allah has made it. وَحَرَمْتُ haram, and I treat that which Allah has made haram, I give it its due right. Also, the scholars of Islam, they mention that know for sure that this doesn't mean that the man never commits sins. Alright? As we affirmed in many classes before, and as the Prophet ﷺ has said to himself, كُلُّ بَنِي آدَمْ خَطَّى. All the children of Adam are what? Not just sinners, habitual sinners. They will never stop sinning. وَخَيْرُ خَطَّائِينَ تَوَّابُونَ. And the best of those who are consistent upon sin is what? To repent. So therefore, when a man says here, Ahlantu halal, I give Allah's due right. I understand it is halal. And I give Allah that due right. I'm not going to make excuses. Wa haramtu haram. And I treat the things that Allah has made haram, haram. I'm not going to make excuses. Especially, ikhwan. You find people, they have a tendency, if they're in love with a sin, they'll bring all the excuses in the world to try to show why I think is permissible. I'm going to say something that might not be the best thing for me to say, but it's a reality. You have, for an example, I remember in some places, the youth who struggle with homosexuality, for an example. And they may say, well, I was born like this. You mean to tell me that Allah has made this haram? Or they're struggling with what? Smoking cigarettes. This is just who I am. Allah Ghafur Rahim. Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. They come with all the excuses to try to make what? The deen fit their what?
Lifestyle.
Their lifestyle. They tailor the deen instead of tailoring themselves to fit the religion. No, Juan, the religion is easy. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, in the deen yusr, that the religion is easy. There's no need to go to the extremes, to the right or to the left. Just try. That's all Allah Azza wa Jal asks you to do. And this was understood when the man asked the Prophet ﷺ, O Messenger of Allah, wa ahlantu halal. If I just try my best and treat everything halal like it's supposed to be, wa haramtu haram. And I don't make excuses, and I treat everything as haram as haram. I may end up doing some of them, because I'm not perfect. But at least I know I'm not going to make an excuse that it's what? That it's halal. I know it's haram. I might do it every now and again. May Allah forgive me. But the point is, I know that it's haram. I'm not going to talk myself out of the religion. if I do that, if I give Allah's due right, even though I'm trying and I'm struggling, will you at least give me in return? Will Allah give me Jannah in return? قَالَ نَعَمْ. He said yes. And this is real important that we have to understand that we don't take our desires as Lord's. And that's not my speech, this is a speech of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and I want everyone to go there in Surah Jathiyah, 45:23. 45:23. If you have a phone, 45:23. Jathiyah, 45:23. Somebody other than Hadeeth.
Yeah, I'm gonna let somebody else. It's a long verse.
It's a long verse. Tayyib. Adam?
Then seest thou such a one as takes as his God his own vain desire? Allah has, knowing him as such, left him astray and sealed his hearing and his heart.
Alright, stop. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, أَفْرَأَيْتَ. Do you see the one? مِنَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُ هَوَى. Have you not seen the one who has taken his lust, his desires as his Lord? This ayah applies to a lot of people. This ayah is a threat over everyone's head, including myself. None of us is perfect. You will never be perfect. The reason why this ayah is a threat over everyone's head. One of the scholars of the past named Qatada, and I want everyone to reflect on it. If you don't get anything else from this class, just reflect on this point. And reflect on it throughout the week, throughout the rest of your life. Qatada, he says something here. He says, the meaning of this verse is the person, every time he has a desire, rakibahu. Every time he has like an itch to commit a sin, he does it. Then he says, and every time he not only thinks about it, but every time he just contemplates on it, he has to do it. وَلَا يَمْنَعَهُ and ذَلِكَ وَرَعْ وَلَا تَقْوَى. And nothing prevents him at all, not even the fear of Allah. Every time he gets an itch to do a sin, he doesn't even think about it. He does it. If he struggles with looking at the haram, things not he's supposed to be looking at. As soon as he thinks about it, it's not like, astaghfirullah, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. He does what? He does it. If he has a struggle with smoking cigarettes, he doesn't think about it, he just does it. It's a part of his DNA. He says that if you find yourself like this, or you find that your heart is more inclined to doing that which Allah is displeased with, and after you do the sin, you don't find yourself struggling with it, or at least feeling regretful, then know for sure you are one of these people who took his desires as his Lord. You have committed shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, no one is being singled out here. The threat is over my head as well. I have sins like anybody else. We all have sins. But the point here is that regarding this ayah, Qatada, he mentioned, if you find yourself, every time you have an itch, it could be anything. It could be alcohol. It could be drugs. It could be looking at pornography. It could be anything. And no matter what it is, money, getting money the haram way. That at least, at the very least, when that thought comes in your head, you don't think twice. Or you did the sin so much you become immune to it. Your heart becomes cold. Then know for sure you're on the verge of one of these people. You're one of these people that Allah Azza wa Jalla is talking about. Have you not seen the one who has taken his desires as his Lord? You have committed shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will be held accountable on the day of resurrection. Everyone understand that? And like I said once again, the threat is over my head as well. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Kullu bani Adam khata." All the children of Adam make mistakes. He didn't say only the laymen make mistakes, only the students of knowledge make mistakes. Only the Muslims make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But the best of those who try to purify, so they won't be a part of these people within this ayah, is they do what after? At the very least, they what? They ask Allah to forgive them. The scholars of Islam, they say that, what is the difference? Ma farqu bayna shaitan wa Adam. What is the difference between shaitan and Adam alayhi salam? The difference is both of them, they committed a sin. Both of them disobeyed the commandment of Allah. What was the commandment that Adam disobeyed?
He didn't bow down.
No, Adam.
I was kidding.
Adam, your name is Adam too. You were kidding.
Do not approach it.
He ate from,
Do not approach this tree.
Do not approach the tree, but he did it. He ate from the tree. And then what did Shaitan do?
He didn't.
He didn't what? He didn't prosper. So both of them, they did what? They disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he says, lakin al-farq. But the difference between the two is one of them did what afterwards?
Forgiveness.
They asked Allah to forgive them. As for the other one, he was what? He was arrogant. And khayrun min. Khalaqtani min an-nar wa khalaqtahu min tin. I'm better than him. I ain't doing that. What? But Adam understood his wrong, Adam. And he repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once again, going back to this hadith, going back, وَأَحْلَمْتُ حَلَالَ وَحَرَمْتُ حَرَامٍ. I have treated the halal things as halal, and I have treated the haram things as haram, even though every now and again I may end up falling short. At the very least, if I do that, will I enter paradise? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said what? قَالَ نَعْمْ. Yes, you will. Another thing that some of the scholars of Islam, they mentioned that perhaps the man was someone either new to the deen, okay, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't want to show that the religion is hard, which is not, but he didn't want to overburden the man. So if that is the case, then the benefit we get from that is that at the very least, when we give da'wah, to be mindful of the person that you're talking to. And don't mention all these different things from the deen, not that we're hiding anything, but don't mention all the things from the deen where the person may understand, like, wow, subhanAllah, I can't, I gotta spend $10,000 for Hajj? Nah, I can't do that. Right? So you don't want to mention certain things that a person is going to seem as if the religion is what is too difficult. If that is the case, if this person was a new Muslim. Another thing that some of the scholars of Islam, they mention, that perhaps the man and Allah knows best. Right? Because we don't want to say anything bad or anyone to misinterpret that we're speaking bad about the companions. But some of the scholars of Islam mentioned that perhaps the man was someone who had basically low aspirations. I just want to do the bare minimum. I just want to be alright. I want to live my life and just do the bare minimum. If I do that, will I get Jannah? Qala na'am. He said yes. If that is the case, some of the scholars mentioned, what is the reasoning of having low aspirations in this dunya? Or just low aspirations in general? The scholars of Islam, they said the first reason, I want everyone to at least contemplate on this. From the reasons of having low aspiration is hubb ad-dunya. That the person is so in love with this world that they don't have time to give Allah Azza wa Jalla his rights. This is why also the scholars of Islam in the past, from Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah, he used to say a few things. One of those things he used to say is that I advise the people to not have too many friends. Because when you have so many friends, you're so concerned with giving them their rights, you forget about the rights of who? Of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This friend is coming with this problem. This friend is coming with this problem. You're trying to be a good friend, be a good brother in Islam. So you're solving his issue, you're solving his issue, you're solving her issues, you're solving this, you're solving this. And at the end of the day, it's only 24 hours. You forget about what? Allah. You didn't make dua. You didn't read Quran. You didn't make anything. You didn't make istighfar. You didn't ask Allah to forgive you. You spend all this time busy, forgetting about the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hubb ad-dunya. The second thing is kasal. The person is just lazy. One of the reasons why they have low aspirations. They see everything as a mountain. Memorizing 2 surahs from the Quran, I can't do it. It's too much. Surah Al-Baqarah, you want me to memorize Surah Al-Baqarah? La. Surah Al-Baqarah? I can't do it. Just Amma. No, what? No, I can't do it. So what happens here is that it's so many different things because the person is just lazy. He has low aspirations. Alright? Another thing, ikhwan, when the scholars mention, is that he's someone who is just used to wasting time. Saraf al-waqt. He's not someone that contemplates on the value of time. He's never serious. You always see him, he's just blowing in the wind, right? So what happens here is that you'll find that even some of the scholars and some of the companions of the past, they were so keen on their time, what they would do. So what they would do here is that some of the companions of the past, they were so keen on studying and on their time. Huh? All right. So they were so keen on their time. What they would do is that sometime when they would eat, they would have their son read Quran to them so they can eat and memorize at the same time. Also, and we don't want anyone to go to the extreme with just thinking about saving time. But it's to show how some of the scholars of the past, they were so keen with saving time. Sheikh Al-Bani, rahimahullah, what he did in his library, he had a door like this. Where you basically had to turn the knob and then go in and come out. The Sheikh, he said, that's too much time, I'm wasting. So the student said, what are you talking about? Just open the door. So he went in his house and he changed all the doors in his house from doorknobs to doors that you can just push. And just go in and come out. And he said, it may sound extreme to you, but if I do that at least 20 times a day, I have saved 10 seconds every time I went in and out, That's 2 minutes. Within that 2 minutes, I could have found a hadith already. So I'm not saying go home and change all your locks. I'm not saying that. I don't want anyone to do that. Change it, because one, that's dangerous. So don't do that. But the point is that they were so keen on time and everything like that. They said that one of the reasons having low aspirations, you don't understand the value of time. All right. Another thing, the reason why a person may have low aspirations is, and this is really important, that he has issues in his aqidah to begin with. He doesn't understand the importance of the hereafter. She doesn't understand the importance of Jannah, trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, they see that it's okay to give Allah the bare minimum. What do I need to be serious for? I don't believe in a life of the grave to begin with. A person who doesn't believe in that, chances are what? They're not going to strive to stay away from it. I'm not going to learn certain du'as that I can say that's going to protect me from the torture of the grave, because what? I don't believe it. You see that? So therefore, if a person has issues within his aqidah, is one of the reasons why they have low aspirations, because they don't understand the importance of everything to begin with. Everyone understand that, Ikhwan? Yeah. All right. So these are one of the things that some of the scholars of Islam, they mentioned perhaps that this man had low aspirations. This is why he asked the Prophet ﷺ this question of giving Allah the bare minimum. Now, once again, I don't want anyone to understand that we weren't saying anything bad about the companion himself. It was that some of the scholars said perhaps this is one of the reasons. Him being a new Muslim, not understanding the importance of certain things, so he asked this question. One of the things that we also want to add too here is that the scholars of Islam, they mentioned that when people read this hadith, they have a tendency to do a few things. When a person, for an example, let's say he's in love with committing sins. When he reads this hadith, for an example, when people came to the Prophet and said, "O Messenger of Allah, if I pray and I fast and I pay zakat and I make hajj, أدخل الجنة وأجيب جنة ولم أزد على ذلك شيء," and I don't do anything else, will I enter Jannah? The Prophet said yes. Based upon that, if that is the case, then you have some people that just feel like, well, I'm just going to do those things and I'll be fine. Allah's going to give me Jannah and I commit sins, I can do everything I also want to do. But everyone understand that? Mm-hmm. People have this mindset. That is not the understanding of the hadith, and no one should understand it that way. And if you understand it that way, you have made a huge mistake, and we're going to bring proof to back that statement up. You have a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he said clearly that لا يدخل جنة قاطع, that a person who severs his family ties will not enter Jannah. That's a clear, explicit hadith. Yes or no? Yes. So therefore, if a person says, but I made hajj, I prayed, I fast, I did the zakah, I did everything I was supposed to do, the Prophet said yes. Right? In one hadith. In another hadith, he said, لا يدخل جنة قاطع, that the one who severs his family ties will not enter Jannah. You have another hadith that on Yawm al-Qiyamah, what is the salat? And when someone tell me, what is the salat on Yawm al-Qiyamah? Huh? The bridge. The bridge is over what?
Hellfire.
Huh?
Hellfire.
Over the hellfire. Give me the descriptions of this bridge.
Narrow.
It's narrow. Right, it has horns on it. It's hooks. That's a horns. It has hooks. It has hooks on it. Right? And it's thin. As the hadith mentions, thinner than a piece of hair. And some people will fall off. Some people will make it across. Some people, the angels will drag them on their face across this bridge. But the point here is that maybe this person did what? Prayed, he did all the 5 things. But it still doesn't stop there. There's another bridge a lot of people don't know about. And this bridge is called Al-Qantara. Has anyone heard of this bridge before? Qantara.
No.
No? طيب. This bridge, as the scholars of Islam, they mentioned, this bridge is a small bridge right before the people enter Jannah. And the people, this bridge is for the people to make up. If you have harmed another Muslim, you slandered another Muslim, you backbit another Muslim, you did this, you did this. This is the bridge where everyone has to make up. Make islah. Because no one can enter Jannah with evil feelings toward their brother or towards their sister. And as some of the scholars of Islam, Allah Ta'ala knows best, and Allah knows best, but some of the scholars of Islam, they said this is the meaning of the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, do you know who is bankrupt? Everyone heard this hadith before? Alright, so remind me of the hadith. So he said, do you know who one is bankrupt? The companion said what? It's the one that has no what? No wealth. And the Prophet ﷺ said what? It's not the case. The one who has what?
He ran out of good deeds.
He ran out of good deeds.
It
was given to this one. He backbit this one. He murdered this one. Right? And he took their bad deeds. And in the end, the man entered where? The hellfire. Allah knows best, but some of the scholars, they mentioned that this is al-qantara, where a person feels as if he's about to go to Jannah. I did everything I was supposed to do. But then once he gets there to the gate, he's about to get in there, people start waiting, hold up, Ya Allah. He backbit me. He did this, he did this. And Allah starts taking away the good deeds. Where the man truly feels what? He's bankrupt. I almost had it. I ain't got nothing there. And then he's thrown away in the hellfire.
Even the ones he owed money.
I'm glad you said that, because also a person, the one who dies a mujahid, a martyr for the sake of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said what about him? That if he owes debt to the people, this man still will not enter Jannah. But he might have what? He prayed, he fasted, he did hajj. He did all the 5 things that he's supposed to do. So no one should misunderstand any hadith when they read it, that so long as I pray, so long as I fast, so long as I do, I can do all the haram I want to. La. No. You have to do what? Other stuff too. You can't break your family ties. You have to love each other for the sake of Allah. Advise each other. Help each other out. Treat each other sincerely. Don't lie. Don't do all these different things. Because this is the reason why the people enter the hellfire. The scholars of Islam also, قال بعض السلف. Some of them said that a man will be trapped. He won't be able to enter Jannah for 100 years for a sin that he's committed in the dunya. But he did everything else. He won't be allowed to enter Jannah because of a sin he committed in the dunya. But perhaps he did what? Everything else he's supposed to do. So we shouldn't misunderstand the hadith that so long as I do this and I do that, yes, it is a sabab min asbab. It is a reason from the reasons why a person will help him out to get into Jannah. But you can't say, I pray 5 times a day, I fasted Ramadan, I made hajj, I made 5 of them, I paid zakat, I did all of this other stuff, so I'm guaranteed Jannah, because the Prophet ﷺ was asked, أَأَدْخَلُ الْجَنَّةَ قَالَ نَعَمْ. Will you enter Jannah? He said yes, for sure. And what did you say, Anwar? You don't know what's accepted. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, was one of the richest of the companions. He was, subhanAllah, I mean, everyone knows he was rich. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he said, Wallahi, if I only knew that 2 raka'at was accepted from me by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was more beloved me than anything I own. We have Abu Bakr as-Siddiq who was guaranteed Jannah. But he still didn't treat it like what? I'm guaranteed Jannah, I can do what I want to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the companions that I'm pleased with them. But they still did what? They strived. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam still prayed, still got off at tahajjud. And he was guaranteed Jannah. So there has to be more to it. That's the point what I'm saying. It has to be more than what? Just doing those 5. Everyone understands that? Play here. Therefore, the scholars of Islam, they mention something here that I want everyone to think about. They say the reality is a few things. The reality is that these 5 will help a person in entering Jannah. But like any key, a key has what? Teeth. Edges. If you come to a door with a key that does not have teeth or edges on it, can you open that door? No. So perhaps a person may come to the door and he has those 5. But he's deficient. He doesn't have all those other edges. He cut off his family ties. He did this. He backbit this one. He lied. He set this one up. He did this. He did that. So when he comes and he tries to open that door, it won't open. Lay off time. It will never open for him. So the person has to, what? The first thing has to come with what? Tawheed. After Tawheed, obviously implementing those 5, the 5 pillars of Islam. And after that, he has to strive to also stay away from those things that the Prophet ﷺ told him to stay away from. And this is why the man, he said, وَأَحْلَلْتُ halal. And I understand that which Allah has made halal, and I try to do everything that Allah has made halal. وَالْحَرَمْتُ haram. And I try to treat everything that Allah has made haram as haram, even though I may fall, commit it every now and again. But understand, at the very least, that is what? That is haram. And I'm going to try my best to stay away from it. If I do that, O Messenger of Allah, at the very least, would you give me Jannah? Not you, but Allah give me Jannah. قَالَ نَعَمْ. Out of this class, we're not going to make it a long class. But the point is, just to review real quickly. What is the verse that we said that it's a threat over everyone? Everyone's head. What is the verse? Huh?
How you say Jalit?
Jathia. But what's the verse?
24, 23 or something?
No, it's 23, but what's the verse?
It was 22.
Do you not see what? The one who did what?
Who took his own desires.
Takes his own desires as his Lord. And like I said, if you don't get anything else from the class, for myself, first and foremost, because I'm a human being like anybody else. I come up short, I commit sins. Everyone else will have sins. And if anything, ikhwan, we have to try to implement this. As Qatada, he said, the meaning of this person that Allah is talking about is that basically every time he gets an itch to do a sin, there's nothing that stops him. He doesn't have that desire in him to even think about, whoa, this is haram, what am I doing? He did it so much that it's like drinking water. It's like drinking water. That he has to do it. And if you find your heart loving that which Allah is displeased with, and wanting that things that Allah doesn't want you to have, but you have to have it, and your heart is calling out for that, know for sure that you are one of these people. You have committed shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will be held accountable on the day of resurrection. And we know that those who commit shirk are subjected to the hellfire. So I advise myself first and foremost before anybody else. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, do you advise the people of righteousness while you forget yourselves in the process? So the advice goes to myself first and foremost. Because I have to stand before Allah alone. And you have to stand before Allah alone. That is the reality. And And you do not want to be one of those people where every time you think about a sin, you do it. Every time you think about committing zina, a person does it. Every time a person thinks about stealing, he does it. Every time a person thinks about lying, he does it. Every time a person thinks about cutting off his family, he does it. And then speaking about family, we'll end with this, inshallah ta'ala. Going back to the hadith with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "La yadkhulu jannah qati'." That the one who severs his family ties will never ever enter paradise. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say he won't smell the fragrance of paradise. He won't do this. He said, "La yadkhulu jannah qati'." The man who severs his family ties will not enter paradise. Advice for myself first and foremost: if you have family members that are still alive, notice the Prophet didn't say, whoever severs the family ties of Muslims. It was left open. If you have non-Muslim relatives, if you have Muslim relatives, don't sever your family ties. Abadan. If you have a mother that's still alive, okay, how old she is, call her. Regardless of whatever she did. A father. If you have a father that passed away, rahimahumullah, or a mother that passed away, at the very least you can do is make what? Dua for them. How arrogant can you be that your family, your parents raised you, and you don't have the common courtesy to do what? To make dua for this person. And perhaps the scholars of Islam, they mention that a part of cutting the family ties is that if you have family members that passed away, that you don't even make dua for them. That is still a sign of uquq walidain. It's still of a sign of being disrespectful and not honoring your parents, even though they have passed away. That if you don't take the time to make dua for your parents, or even for your grandparents, that you are from those who have committed uquq walidain. You have disrespected your parents, and perhaps it also can be counted as breaking the family ties. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. If you have family that are not Muslim, at the very least, tell them about the beauty of Islam. Make dua for them. How arrogant can you be? And as some of the scholars mentioned, the greatest gift you can give anyone is to tell them about what the beauty of the religion. As a child who has non-Muslim parents, if you do not at the very least tell them or make dua that Allah guides them, you have also committed uquq walidain. You have dishonored your parents. And perhaps Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Perhaps all this can be included as a person who has severed what? His family ties. So, inshallah ta'ala, once again, it's advice for myself first and foremost, and then it's advice from our brothers in Islam. Going back to the hadith, that the man said, if I pray those 5, and I do what? I fast what? Monday and Thursdays? Ramadan. I fast for Ramadan. And we said fasting for Ramadan includes what? Making up the days that you missed. Alright? Also, if you have women folk in the family and they miss certain days, obviously because of certain reasons, to encourage them to do what? Make up those days. If a brother has a wife and she missed those days, he may not like it, but at least fast those days with her to help out, to encourage her. Wasumtu Ramadan. You have a lot of people, they have years of fast they have to make up. They fast 15, they don't fast the other 15. Allah Ghafurur Rahim. Allah is most merciful. I was traveling, I was doing this, I was doing this, I was doing this, I was doing this. But the man said, at the very least, I fast Wasumtu Ramadan. Wa ahlaltu halal, and I treat everything that Allah has made halal as halal, and I don't make excuses. Wa haramtu haram, and I treat everything that Allah has made haram as haram, and I don't do what? I don't do what? Make excuses. I know that smoking is haram. I'm struggling with it. Just be honest. I know that drinking is haram, but I'm struggling with it. Just be honest. Instead of saying what? That's not that bad. It's makruh. It's this. It's disliked. This is also why in Surah An-Nahl 16, 116, what Hadeeth, what he read, that the people that follow their tongue saying that this is halal and this is haram. And this is one of the things I forgot to mention. Alhamdulillah, I remembered it now. The scholars of the past, especially when you start to read some of the books of Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, some of the scholars of the past, what they would do, because they feared this ayah so much, that if you ask them about certain things, instead of saying that it was haram, they would say makruh. Like in yuridu bihi haram. They would use the word makruh, but intending that this particular thing was haram, out of fear of being one of these people who are making something haram that Allah has made halal. So out of fear of just staying away from this whole ayah. And it's very rare sometimes you'll find in their books that when it was asked about certain sins, they would say haram. Especially if there was a difference of opinion about it. They would just say makruh. But they really believed that what? It was haram. Because you'll find a lot of people, unfortunately, I remember this, and I'm not going to expose anyone, but you'll find a lot of people. I was having a conversation with a brother probably some years ago. I think we actually were on Hajj, and he was smoking a cigarette. I said, "Akhi, do you not know? And I'm tired. In hada haram?" He said, "La." I said, "Do you not know this is haram?" He said, "No, it's makruh. It's disliked." I said, "Man, it's bihal. Where you get this from?" He said, "The books of Imam Shafi." So I got this book. And he started blaming scholars in the past. I said, "Hey, do you not know the reason why they use the word makruh?" And I explained it to him. But the point is, once again, you have some people, they have what? They're so in love, they're so addicted. Mudmin. They're addicted to sin. It's not that they do it, they're addicted to it. That they'll use any excuse in the world to commit that sin. But at the very least, don't make excuses. If you're struggling with something, be honest. I'm not saying go out and expose yourself to people. I'm not saying that. But I think be honest with yourself and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, "Man yastaku ma'Allah, Allah yastaku ma'ah." Who's ever going to be truthful to Allah, Allah is going to be truthful with him. So be honest with your Lord. Oh Allah, help me. As we said before, what was the dua that we learned last class? Allahumma ihdini wasadidni. Oh Allah, guide me and make me hit my target. Just help me out. But just be honest with your Lord. Don't make excuses, ikhwan. And if, inshallah ta'ala, Allah knows best. But inshallah ta'ala, if a person does all of that, he comes with tawheed. He does the 5 pillars of Islam. He doesn't break the family ties. He doesn't do that which the Prophet ﷺ forbade him to do. Will I enter paradise? The Prophet ﷺ, he said yes. طيب. Is there any questions about this particular hadith that we went over? It's the 22nd hadith of Imam Nawawi. Is there any questions about the hadith before we close the class, inshallah?
So they will never get out the fire.
Hmm?
Even they will never, or I mean, so in other words, so there will be Muslims that will be in the fire that will never get out.
طيب. Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair.
Okay.
So now, in regards to the questions, basically is you have those. How do we understand the hadith with the Prophet ﷺ? He said, "La yadkhulu jannah qati'." Therefore, for an example, the person who severs his family ties will not enter paradise. At the same time, we understand that what they are subject to the hellfire. Perhaps if Allah wish, He will punish them in the hellfire. However, can we say, can they gonna stay in there forever? La. We can't say that because why? Because there's another hadith that's clear and explicit. That the one who has a mustard seed of faith, that Allah will do what? Take him out of the fire. But Allah knows best how long that may be. It may be millions of years. Because a person did what? He severed his family ties. Alright? So, once again, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair that you asked that question. These type of ahadith, when it's mentioned the person will not enter paradise because of such and such sin. Yes, the person is subjected to the punishment of Allah. And if Allah wills, He'll throw him in the hellfire. But at the very least, if he has tawheed, then Allah will do what? Release it. And also, another hadith that is explicit, we'll end with that, is that the man will come on the day of resurrection and he has 99 scrolls of bad deeds as far as his eye can see. That's a lot of sins. 99 scrolls of bad deeds as far as your eye can see. Basar. But at the very end, the man believed in what? La ilaha illallah. He was not doubtful about that. I truly believe this. Allah did what? Forgive him. Perhaps on those 99 scrolls of bad deeds, he had what? Severing the family ties, drinking alcohol, doing this and doing that. Allah knows best. But once again, these particular hadith, it doesn't mean that a person will remain in the hellfire forever. However, it means what? They are subject to the punishment of Allah. They may enter the hellfire. But if they do, at the very least, Allah, if they have true tawheed, Allah will take them out. And Allah knows best how long that will be. And may Allah not even let us to have a pit stop in hellfire. You know what I mean? Like,
Is it, yeah, Sheikh, the last one who comes out the fire, will he have like a mark on his head or something?
alright, so alhamdulillah, the people of the hellfire, even though when they enter Jannah, they will still have some indications on their body to let the people of Jannah know that these are the people who came out of the hellfire. So what happens when the people come out of the hellfire, they'll be dipped inside of like a hold, right? Of like a pond, if you will. A pond of life, if you want to call it. And then they will have beautiful bodies. But even when they enter Jannah, there will be some indication that these people were still from what?
Fire.
People from the fire. People from the fire. But no one will obviously, expose them, but try to make them feel bad, and then because you're in Jannah. But there will be some type of indication that these people were the people from the hellfire, and may Allah save us from them. Is there any questions, Juan?
Not really a question. I guess I can form it as a question if you want it to be a question.
It's up to you.
No.
It's up to you.
It's all before Brother Ansari had left, I had spoke to him about like doing a review because I think when we started before the Hadeeth, probably like 5 or 6 months ago, I had talked to him about maybe like taking a couple of classes and just going back from the beginning. This was when we was approaching Hadeeth number 20. Maybe like spending 7-8 minutes on each one. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of do like a refresher, whatever, not in depth or whatever.
Okay.
So not too far away from the reminders and whatnot. And we have I think like 5 classes left before Ramadan. I don't know, might be
We can do that, inshallah.
something to do, and maybe take 3 classes or whatever and go over these 22 hadiths, refresher course, and then maybe you can have like 2 classes to prepare for Ramadan or something. Suggestion.
Alright, khair, inshallah. That's a good suggestion. Inshallah, we'll try to do that, inshallah. Now, is there any other questions, Adam? Anwar? طيب طيب سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت واستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.